and I think there are two sides of the coin here. I brought up trust at the very beginning of our podcast series, and it's coming up now. So the other side of the trust coin is risk, right? So if you don't enable that trust, what you're left with is a lot of risk in that people don't believe it's you. They don't believe it's real. They don't believe you gave a toss, like you didn't try hard enough to persuade them, and they know you're using AI. The mention of AI slop and AI fatigue, AI exhaustion, which is also the risk on an employee level as well. So if you were thinking in like a governance terms and you did a risk assessment, right? Like they do in board meetings, like you'd have to break your content into parts, right? So where are pieces of content that are higher risk in terms of we can't afford to sound like AI here because it's a death knell for our brand? And where are the places where, let's throw the AI copywriter in the mix. It's not going to make a big deal. And like if it's a training manual, if it's a product manual, I'd say your risk level goes down, right? From a content perspective, because people just want that technical information. They don't need to be persuaded. They don't need any emotion in your employee manual, right? Right, Sinead? Remember Sinead said emotion sell. So if you're trying to sell, if you're trying to persuade, you're trying to have brand activations, you're trying to move people, then the risk starts to kick in, because that's your audience facing stuff, whereby the risk is high if you don't sound human, So you got to choose your battles here with the AI. You can't want to be a copywriter when you're writing the employment. The AI is much better at you at being clearer at these things. It's better at code. It's better at all of that stuff, right? It's better at structure. So for me as a content creator, right, I use the AI in a low risk situation. So when you took visuals, and I talked about visuals in my presentation decks, the low risk scenario was forming a table. AI can do that for me, The low risk situation was creating an infographic, their icons. I can program those in. But the high risk situation is like if I wanted to move somebody with a big image, I need to pick the right stock image or the right piece of photography. I don't trust AI to do that. I will pick that slide, just if you're thinking like a slide deck already, right? So you just gotta, if you want to do proofreading, that's great. When it's copywriting, let's talk about structure again. It's not visual, but it's still important. If you want to do advertising taglines, you want to be a bit more, human for that one, right? So stress testing, AI is great at that. Structure, AI is great at that. But, when it comes to storytelling, that's a whole other ball game. You're talking about human beings and lived experience. You're the only one with that experience. Storytelling eats content for breakfast, as we all know. So don't rely on the AI when you're moving into that space with your work. So your work can be divvied up. There are places that have less risk. Go on, have fun with your AI there. But be a little bit more process led, like you say, Denis, when you're doing the creative front facing stuff.
Yeah, perfect. No, and that's it. I love that term stress test, because we could really apply it to absolutely anything that we do with AI. So it should be able to stand up to whatever test we kind of have in mind. And we ideally want to have that test in mind before we use AI for the task, don't we?